Hello, welcome to Old Nerd Book Report. I read His Ragged Company by Rance D. Denton. Subtitle, A Testimony of Elias Faust. This is Elias Faust. This book, I don't know if this was like as a print-on-demand book. I can't tell anymore. I mean, it doesn't have anything on the spine saying what publisher it is. But I found it at a bookstore, a used bookstore, and the cover looked great. I read the back. Outlaws, miscreants, magic. A pissed off warlock with a taste for revenge, an army of sand golems with fistfuls of magic, a wishing well with a mind of its own. No wonder Black Peak, Texas never got its spot on the map. So that sounds really cool. And what else is in here that got my attention? Oh, here, content and trigger warnings. Ableism, alcohol use, animals harmed in combat, blood and gore, death, dismemberment, drowning, drug use, forced restraint, gun violence, hanging, harsh language, knife violence, racism, self-harm, sex and sexual acts, sexism, sexual assault, verbally threatened, not performed, suicide. And I suppose a good amount of that stuff actually is in here. But when I saw that, especially when it said racism, it was just like, yep, there's racism in here. I was like, cool. That, not endorsing racism, just that a modern book that's not afraid to to use it because it existed, so you can use it in your entertainment when you're creating a movie or a novel or whatever. But the reason I'm doing this now is this is my booktube. What's the event called? June on the Range. If anybody out there subscribes to, now I can't think of his name. Anyway, he's a booktuber. He mostly talks about sci-fi, fantasy, the kind of stuff that I like. A lot of Robert E. Howard. He likes Robert E. Howard quite a bit. He likes he likes a lot of the weird tales type stuff, like the old pulps. So I watch him all the time. Michael, what the heck is his last name? He's got the same name as a comic book writer. Michael, man, I can't think of his name. But he started this booktube event called June on the Range. So this is my entry into that because it's a Western, but it's a weird Western. So but there's no constraints. Like as long as it's Western themed, you can do June on the Range. So I figured this would be a good one to make my entry, even though it's a weird Western. The art's really cool on the back cover. I like that. Looking at this cube with asteroids around it in the sky, and he's on a raft. I believe this is from like a dream sequence that happened in the book, maybe. But this is what was referred to on the back here: an army of sand golems with fistfuls of magic. This is a sand golem. Basically, he is the sheriff of a town in Texas, a small town. Was found on maybe mining. He was a mining town or something, but it's kind of a failure of a town. He is a very black and white, excellent lawman protagonist because you're either right or wrong in his mind. So it makes his choices real clear, which is cool. And he's just a regular guy, but he gets beat up so badly in this book so many times that eventually they do have to bring him back to life magically at one point in the book. But basically there's this magical well near the town that kind of controls people. It picks one specific person that it wants to control, and I'm not sure why it does it. I don't know if I missed that part or if it just wasn't in there, because I think this is going to be a series. Yeah, it's got a 1 here, so I think this is going to be a series. I don't think the other any more have come out, But what this came out in 2021. Yeah. So it's been a few years. You would think that there'd be a part two out. I haven't, to be honest, I haven't looked too hard to see if there is a part two. Um, I didn't love this book. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Jonesy, if you're watching, I think you'd like this book. He's got a very similar writing style to you, I would say, in my opinion. And by that I mean like the language is very colorful, very evokes images very easily, and everything is every character has their own kind of the patois, their own way of speaking, which is very individual to them. And there's always somebody who speaks very colorfully, very descriptively. And a lot of like just the straight prose is in between dialogue, is very much that way. Like everything's described in a way. Let's see if I can find an example of what I'm talking about, because it's something I recognize, and in this book, it's cool, but there's too much of it. I think it kind of pulls me out of the story because every other paragraph is kind of So here's an example. I had to hand it to him. Grady Cicero was surprisingly light on his feet. He looked for the right openings and poured into them like beer into a cup, letting Jolly overswing to expose tender ribs of the side of his neck. So he's talking about a boxing match right there. Um, uh, he looked for the right openings and poured into them like beer into a cup. Like that's pretty cool. That's one of the better examples. But it's just every other paragraph is something along those lines, and it gets old. In my opinion, it gets old. Your mileage may vary. It's also, like I said, there's a lot of it's like he's Wolverine. My old nerd comic book people will know who Wolverine from the X-Men is. Like he's the character that they had no problem shooting, blowing up, burning, because he could live through it with his mutant healing factor, would just revive him, restore him, heal him. So it's like they give this guy that amount of violence, but he's just a normal man. and he's back up on his feet and feeling like he's got a hangover, kind of, just that pulls me out of the story as well. Like the superhuman amount of abuse the protagonist receives in cleaning up his town of these magical jerks. So it's almost like in short story installments. See part 5, The Girl Made of Gold. There's several of these that are about, I don't know, 75 pages each scattered through here. It's like a collection of short stories almost. And each, like they all tie together. It's almost like episodes of a television series. Like one of those sections will be about a particular character getting introduced. The Elias Faust is always the protagonist of each one. But like a new side character, a new villain, something like that will be introduced in each one. So it's almost like it was written as a television. It was adapted from like maybe an idea for a television show, maybe almost, it seems like. So basically, some of this just reads like straight Western, especially in the beginning, because he is hired by an old miner to track down these two outlaws who stole something from the old miner. The old miner hires Elias Faust because he's the lawman of the town. They have to go track down these guys, and they're holed up in an old farmstead. And there's a shootout, and it's pretty gory shootout and violent. And there's no magic at all in that first story. But after that, the magic kind of keeps snowballing until it's pretty much what the whole book is about by the end. But there's this well, and it chooses a person, and that old miner that I just mentioned, he was the person in the beginning of the story who the well had chosen and uses to do what, I don't know. But the old miner ends up dying, and then the well chooses Elias Faust. And there's a warlock in the town that's been kind of pulling the strings, running the town. This Black Peak in Texas, where they live, and he controls these sand golems. He wants control of the well, but he can't seem to do it. And he learns that the well wants Elias Faust, so he makes a lot of trouble for Elias Faust, and a lot of a lot of bodily harm, which he just seems to shake off. But not a bad book. I didn't love it though. I probably, if another one comes out, I doubt I'd continue reading. So anyway, that's my installment for June on the Range 2026. The name of that channel just about popped into my head. What the heck, Michael? Oh, there's anybody watching who was also a booktuber, you probably know who I'm talking about. He speaks. He dresses up kind of, and he has like a mummy behind him. It's like just a statue of a mummy, lifelike looking statue. His name is Roger, and he's like the co-host. he doesn't talk, but Michael, this channel, he speaks to Roger the mummy over his shoulder occasionally. It's one of the few YouTubers that makes me laugh out loud, actually. But anyway, yes, June on the Range. This month's booktube event. My entry is his Ragged Company by Rance D. Denton. You probably have to order this one on Amazon if you want to find it. It was, like I said, I saw it in that used bookstore, and it wasn't used; it was brand new. The bookstore had new stuff, new books in it as well. But yeah, it was it was a kind of a bigger bookstore, even though it was independently owned. So I don't know. You might find this in a Barnes and Noble, maybe. I kind of doubt it. It has like a self-published vibe. So although it's fairly well written, like he must have had a pretty good editor, because it's fairly well written. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. So yeah, I got mine on Amazon. That's where I found it. So if you want one, I'd look on Amazon. Otherwise, thanks for watching. If you know anybody else who would be interested in this book, please pass this video along. Subscribe if you would. Leave me a like. Comment down below if you've read this, and if you're doing June on the Range, and if you know the channel, the name of the guy at the channel that I can't think of, Michael. Anyway, if you know that, comment that down below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.